We can hear you. We can hear
Okay.
you. We can hear you.
Elenique, I can hear you.
Mayor, you're muted.
Shabbat Shalom. Yes, no, you can hear?
Woohoo!
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. The stress of can we hear each other? Can we not? Do we understand the technology? Can we connect? Yes, we will. How do we know when to mute ourselves or each other? All the questions of life, all in this one Zoom experience. Okay, so what is the note? The host has spotlighted your video for everyone. Would you like to unmute your microphone? Doesn't Tara look great? She does.
Fabulous.
All right, Cantor, whenever you're ready.
Okay. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom, Cantor, Adam.
You know, in this day of Zoom services and all the things we need to do to look good on camera, I think everyone knows that that even though I'm wearing this nice purple tie and this beautiful, I don't know if it's Raffaelli or Gabrielli, I always get confused, this beautiful talit, that there's always, you know, there's the party on the bottom. There's the business up front and the party on the bottom. I am wearing, actually, I'm wearing suit pants, but as Mayor noted when I walked over, I'm wearing bright pink donut socks. And that's in part because I can, and in part because I was thinking about my niece earlier today, and she loves donuts. So she loves a lot of things, but donuts are apparently a thing. So I'm looking over at my good friend. Yes, cool socks are always fun to have. Great way to start. So if you're all muted, remember, in Zoom, no one can hear you sing, but you can hear yourself sing. So join along, and we'll be a choir at home.
Shabbat Shalom all. I just sent this note thanking you, Natasha. This is really to everyone. You know, one of the great things about the rhythm of Jewish time is as Shabbat comes, we say Shabbat Shalom. Have a peaceful Sabbath, whatever the formula is. And I think that's an anchor, can be an anchor in our lives. It has been an anchor in Jewish life for several thousand years. So I encourage as many Shabbat Shalom greetings as we might have. I want to start by, speaking of anchors, anchoring us in our Jewish time. From a secular point of view, you might call this Jewish period of time like the time that's between a rock and a hard place. Between a rock and a hard place. In our Jewish sort of way of speaking, we call it the Bein HaMetzarim, the 3 weeks between the Metzar, the narrow, the constricted, the places of pain and uncertainty and loss and fear. That's what this is, the Bein HaMetzarim. I'm thinking actually Sandy Kaplan, you wonderfully and lovingly said, Mayor, I miss your jokes. This was a week ago or two. And I promise you to try to return to some decent jokes, but only after these 3 weeks are over. It's not really a coincidence that I haven't told a joke in the last couple weeks. So these 3 weeks are, as we've said, each of the last 3 weeks, for sure the period of darkness in our Jewish calendar. And it's painful, brutally painful, to think about the darkness in our American world experience as well. I'm thinking about that Dr. Deborah Birx, just today, I think it was, has reported that the U.S. nationally is now facing 3 New Yorks, which we had back in March and April. I learned today, maybe you all did as well, that the first 1 million infections of coronavirus took 100 days. The second 1 million took, I think, just under 50 days. The third 1 million took 23 days, and I think the fourth 1 million, which we just tragically surpassed or unhappily surpassed, for the fourth 1 million only took 14 days. This is a Meitzar. Another Meitzar, I'm thinking of 3, one for each of the weeks. Another Meitzar is that Twitter recently was reported to have locked Twitter accounts that used a Star of David. There's actually a whole bunch of confusion around this, but one very strong likelihood, possibility, is that someone in Twitter was able to convince the powers that be, whether briefly or not, I'm not clear, but that the Star of David is a symbol of hate. That's a Meitzar. And as well, a horrific, horrendous, and inexcusable Meitzar, a Republican congressman, just in the last 48 hours, used an obscene vulgarity in referring to a Democratic congresswoman. Like, this is the stuff of sovereign peoples collapsing on ourselves. I start with this in this place of darkness, not because we have any desire to end here. We never want to end in this place, but we don't want to deny it, ignore it, pretend it away, or try to. And Shabbat is about a time of acknowledging what's real, but also creating really some version of an alternate reality. And every week as we light the Shabbat candles, I mean, I've said it so many times, what we strive to do is to do just that. Acknowledge the Meitzarim, that we are between these horrific present Meitzar, places of Meitzar, Mitzrayim, that this is an ancient place that we return to every year. But the light of the Shabbat candles, which the Freemans want to ask you to prepare for, is the light of hope. It's the light, if I can channel something, a video that you all see tonight, tomorrow, or after Shabbat. It's the light of hope, healing, and love. You'll hear Cantor Adams sing about this in a beautiful way in the video that is being sent out shortly. So it's the light of tikva, refuah, and ahava. So, as we strive to hold on to what's challenging and difficult, but also to know that we're looking towards a time of hope, healing, and love, Freeman's, But Winix, can you spotlight the Freemans? We're going to lead us in the candle lighting. Anyone else who's got their candles in front of them? A little fantasy of mine is that we have a whole, how many of us are there? 45 different Zoomers at this moment. Maybe 40, many of us would be lighting our candles at this moment, and we would have a whole screen full of candle lighters. So, Michael and Sharon, and I assume your girls are close by. Thank you for the light that you bring. You've been at Shabbat services every week for 4 or 5 years. I don't know what the number is. Maybe it's 6 or 7. Maybe it's 5. Okay, good. So thank you. We'll light before we bless, right? You know that.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam sheker yeshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivim v'hadikneh shel Shabbat. Amen.
Moving on to page 12, the Chunir Anana, raising up some joy.
L'chunir Anana, lai 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 lai, Nahariya, lai 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 lai. Nahariya, lai 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 lai, Yitzor Yishenu, lai 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 lai. Let us sing out to God, the maker of all, sure and strong. Let all of the creatures from mountain to sea hear our song. L'chunir Anana, lai 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 lai, Adonai, lai 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 lai, Nahariya, lai 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 lai, Letzor Yishenu, lai 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 lai. For all of the wonder in all of God's light, we rejoice. So now let us listen with all of our hearts to hear God's voice. L'chunir Anana, lai 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 lai, Adonai, lai 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 lai, Nahariya, lai 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 lai, Nahariya, Letzor Yishenu. bottom of page 13. Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, v'tagel haaretz, Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, v'tagel haaretz. Yeram hayam, Yeram hayam, Yeram hayam umlo, Yeram hayam, Yeram hayam, Yeram hayam umlo, Yeram hayam, Yeram hayam, Yeram hayam umlo, Yeram hayam, Yeram hayam, Yeram hayam umlo. יעלו שדי וכל אשר בו, אז ירננו כל הצייר. לפני אדוני קיווה לשפוט הארץ, ישפוט תבל בצדק, וימים באמונתו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להקודשו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להקודשו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להקודשו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להקודשו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו.
Continuing with Lechado D, we're on page 20. Remembering at that final verse, if you wish, you can rise and face your door, welcoming in the Shabbat bride, but not yet, when we get to the end. Page 20.
Ay lalai Lechado di, ay lalai likrat kala, ay lalai Penei Shabbat nekavela, Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Hishemianu el hamyuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, v'shem multiferet v'helitila. Ay lalai lechadodi, ay lalai likrat kala, ay lalai penei Shabbat, ay lalai la Itnari me'afar komi Livshi bigdei tifartechami Ayad ben Yishai beit alachmi Karva al nafshi, nafshi ge'ala Ay 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 lecha dodi Ay lay lay likrat kala Ay lay lay b'nei Shabbat Ay lay lay nekabela Hitoreri Ki va'orech kumi uri shir daberi Kevod Adonai alayich nigla Ay lay lay lecha dodi Ay lay lay likrat kala Ay lay lay b'nei Shabbat Ay lay lay nekabela Ay lay lay lecha dodi Ay lay lay likrat kala Ay lay lay b'nei Shabbat Ay lay lay nekabela Boi v'shalom ateret bala Gam b'simcha ובצהלה תוך אמוני עם סגולה בואי קלה בואי חלה היי ליי לך דודי היי ליי לקראת קלה היי ליי בני שבת היי ליי מקבלה היי ליי לך דודי היי ליי לקראת קלה היי ליי בני שבת היי ליי With all that rain, they probably will.
22, towards the bottom.
Tzadikat amar yifrach ke'erez balvanon yisgeh shetulim בבית אדוני בחצרות אלוהינו יפריחו אור ינובון בשיבה דשנים ורעננים יהיו להגיד כי ישר אדוני צורי ולא הבלטה בו
So we are going to go into our breakout rooms as we've been doing, little mini villages, little communities within this larger virtual community. And if you're watching on live stream, you'll still be able to watch a breakout room. The question I invite you to explore in your roughly 5 minutes together is, well, after you've introduced yourself, make sure you know everyone in your room, is what's a situation in your life that started in not such a good place? You thought it was going to be a bad thing, and it kind of turned into something wonderful or good. You can go deep with it or light with it. Any response to that question. Enjoy your breakout rooms.
this, it's going to be a problem. Can you hear me now? Okay, let's see if this works. Are we ready to sing, or should the rabbi keep talking? All right, the rabbi should keep talking. So I heard something very cool, that whale sounds in all the major oceans are up in greater diversity and subtlety and breadth and depth, because there's so much less ocean traffic now. The freight traffic is all down on all the cruise ships. So I'm thinking that's an amazing metaphor for Shabbat. The oceans of our lives can get a little quieter, and we can start hearing maybe some of the music and sounds that get drowned out in all the moving that we do from the rest of the week. So I think we are going to, let's just start Baruch Hu. Let's just do it. And you can do it over, you want to use this mic? Okay, here comes the cantor. Okay. Baruch Hu is on page 28. Rise in body or spirit. You can barely be. Page 30. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening. Name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Praised are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening.
Baruch atah Adonai Hamari Varavim. Page 32. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amcha Torah u'mitzvot chukim u'mishpatim otanu limadeta Al kein Adonai Eloheinu v'shokbeinu v'kumeinu nasiach bechukecha ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ויורך ימינו ויורך ימינו והם נהגה יומם ולילה, יומם ולילה. ויהבך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
You may be seated.
We continue on page 36. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Page 40, מי כמוך.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש. Who is like you? Who is like you, Adonai? Who is like you, Adonai? When Moses and the children crossed the sea, they sang to you with songs of joy. Who is like you, Adonai? Mi chamocha belim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar bakodesh, nora tehilot osefele, osefele.
Oh, so beautiful. Hashki Venu 42, thinking about protection, thinking about peace, thinking about letting go under a Sukkot Shalom.
At the bottom of the page. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei Sukkot Shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei Sukkot Shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Yerushalayim ve'al kol amo. Yerushalayim Shalom. Yerushalayim ve'al kol amo. Yerushalayim Shalom. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei Sukkot Shalom. Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael.
Continuing with Vishamru, we're on page 44.
V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש. וביום השביעי שבת
Rising in body or spirits, we begin our Amidah 46.
Adonai sevatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'onei Hakol, Ve'zocher Chasdei Avot ve'imahot, Mevi Geula
באבניהם, למען שמו ואהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. Page 50, אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, להוריד הקל. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו משני עפר. מי כמוך על גבורות ומדם מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, קדושי בכל יום יהללוך סלע. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Continuing with our own private prayers for just a few moments, seated or standing. Now, thinking of all those who are in need of healing of any kind, Mishaberach is on page 253. Please feel free to add any names for healing in the chat, bringing them into your mind and your heart, feeling the power of our combined love and longing for healing. 253.
May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. מקור הברכה לאבותינו. Bless those in need of healing,
with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Tonight, as has already been said, we enter the last Shabbat before Tisha B'Av, the 9th of the Hebrew month of Av, when we will commemorate the temple's destruction. On this Shabbat, the prophetic reading from the book of Isaiah begins, Hazon Yeshayahu ben Amos, the vision of Isaiah, son of Amos, who prophesied concerning Judah and Jerusalem. Isaiah's warnings this week are dire, as he offers a final tochacha, a final rebuke for this, the third warning, which prepares us for Tisha B'Av. For that reason, this very Shabbat is known as Black Sabbath, a name which the Hebrew tradition chose prior to the heavy metal band doing so. That was a joke. Indeed, this week, Isaiah does not mince words. Shim'u shamayim v'ha'azini eretz. Hear, O heavens, and give ear, O earth. Ki Adonai diber, for God has spoken. Banim gadalti. I reared children, I brought them up. Vehem pashuvi. And, says God, they have rebelled against me. Am kevet avon. The nation is heavy with sins. They have turned their backs on God. Ki rosh lechali. Every head is ailing. V'chol levav davai. And every heart is sick. This week, the prophet describes a land laid waste, a city burnt down like Sodom and Gomorrah. In verses similar to those that we read every Yom Kippur, God asks, Mi vikesh zot? Who told you to come and trample my courts? What need have I for your sacrifices, your burnt offerings, your lambs and goats? They become a to'eva. They're offensive to me, an abomination. Your assemblies, says God, are a burden. I can't stand them. Why? Why, says God? Yedechem damim maleu. Your hands are stained with blood. Destruction, loss, shame, moral depravity, brokenness. This year, the themes commemorated by Tisha B'Av and its 24-hour fast, which will begin this coming Wednesday evening, all these themes feel particularly resonant. In Arizona, California, Florida, COVID cases are once again on the rise. Our stress and fears are on the rise as well. Fear for our safety, our health, our economy. And this Shabbat, with the prophet Isaiah's voice ringing in my ears, there is another new frightening image in my mind, perhaps in yours as well. It's an image from Portland of federal law enforcement officers dressed in camouflage and body armor, without explanation, taking protesters, placing them in unmarked minivans, and driving away. Some who have been detained by these unnamed officers were taken from areas around Portland's federal courthouse, which the federal agents were mandated to protect. But other protesters have been seized in streets very far from federal property. For example, Mark Pettibone, who told Oregon Public Broadcasting that he was walking home from a demonstration when 4 or 5 camouflaged men jumped out of a black minivan, grabbed him, threw him in the vehicle, and pulled his hat down over his head so he couldn't see where he was being taken.
Unable to see, in an unmarked car full of armed people who had not identified themselves, Pettibone said he was driven around for a while before being unloaded inside a building. He wouldn't learn until after his release that he had been inside the federal courthouse, the report stated. Pettibone said he was put into a cell. Then 2 officers came in and read him his rights. They did not tell him why he was being arrested. Pettibone declined to answer questions and instead asked for a lawyer, but the interview was then terminated. After about an hour and a half, he was released without receiving any paperwork, citation, or record of his arrest. In a statement to Oregon Public Broadcasting, the U.S. Marshal Service denied that he had been arrested by the agency. And of course, there are many more stories and images. Stun grenades and tear gas engulfing Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler as he called on federal officers to please leave. But Chad Wolf, acting Homeland Security Secretary, said that it is state and city authorities, like Mayor Wheeler, who are to blame, since they have not put an end to the protests. This Shabbat, we begin the book of Devarim, Deuteronomy. The Hebrew word devar means word, or also thing, reminding us that our Devarim, our words, are in fact things with weight and substance, and that our very lives depend upon the manner in which we describe people and events, and that God demands no less than a deep alignment of our words and our actions. This Homeland Security Secretary, Wolf, called federal law enforcement officers, quote, valiant men and women, and protesters he dubbed violent anarchists. Says the prophet Isaiah this week, when words no longer reflect reality, then our connection not only with each other, but with the divine itself is severed. Ki tarbu tfilah, and even when you multiply your prayers, says Isaiah, eineni shomea, I won't listen. Yidchem damim maleu, your hands are stained with crime. Tisha B'Av comes to remind us that even when surrounded by fear, insecurity, and existential threats, we must not throw up our hands, blame, or turn a blind eye to our own failures. Rather, teaches Jewish tradition, it is in the darkest hour that we are called to pay very close attention. So as I try not to just shake my head and look away, but instead to look deeper and to consider the events of this week past, there's another image that comes to mind, and it's not federal agents in camouflage. No, it's the face of John Lewis, who served in the U.S. House of Representatives for Georgia's 5th Congressional District for 17 terms, from 1987 until his death just a week ago today. But let's scroll back a bit further in his life. Born on February 21st, 1940, in Troy, Alabama, John Robert Lewis was the son of sharecroppers and one of 10 children. In 1961, at the age of 21, Lewis became one of the 13 original Freedom Riders, Black and white young people determined to ride from Washington, D.C. to New Orleans in an integrated fashion. In the South, Lewis and the other Freedom Riders were, of course, met by terrible violence, beaten, arrested. At one point, Lewis was left lying unconscious on the floor of the Greyhound bus station in Montgomery, Alabama. But it was his time in the Parchman Prison, the Mississippi State Penitentiary, that has become legendary. In an interview about the experience, Lewis recalled arriving at the prison and being stripped absolutely naked. Picture it, 75 men, Freedom Riders, Black and white, students, professors, ministers, coming in from all parts of the country, standing without any clothing for at least 2 hours. But maybe it makes sense, for the governor of Mississippi himself had instructed the prison guards to break the Freedom Riders' spirit. Later, they were allowed to shower, but only at gunpoint. Lewis was in Parchman Prison without visitors for 37 days. Still, he was not deterred, and in '65, Lewis helped to lead over 600 people in the Selma to Montgomery March across that famous bridge. Arrested 45 times during his career, Lewis received the Presidential Medal of Freedom. He said, and I quote, "When you see something that is not right, you have a moral obligation, a mission and a mandate to get into trouble, good trouble, necessary trouble." This Sabbath before Tisha B'Av is not only called Black Sabbath, but also Shabbat Hazon, a Sabbath of vision. We are called to look with clear eyes on that which is broken in our lives and our world. But this Sabbath is not only called a Sabbath of vision because it's easy. It's because it's hard. Looking this week at the news, I saw a mugshot of John Lewis taken in 1961. Stu or Greg, if you're able to bring up the shot for people to see. It was taken by the Mississippi Police in Jackson. Okay, now go back so I can see my sermon. Oops, which I have now lost. Can you help me, Mayor? 1 second. I'll be right there. Thank you. Said Lewis about himself, just imagine this picture. "I've never been the kind of person who naturally attracts the limelight. I'm not a handsome guy. I'm not what you would call elegant. I'm short and stocky. My skin is dark." Lewis continues. "For some of these reasons, I've never been the kind of guy who draws attention." But in this picture, in Lewis's smile and in his eyes, there is hazon. There's vision. So on that note, I'm going to leave you with one more image, drawing again from this past week's news in Portland. A group that began on Facebook called The Wall of Moms now has some 6,500 members who this past week have been appearing at Portland protests. These are suburban middle-aged moms, much like myself. Sometimes they're dressed in yellow, sometimes in white. They're wearing bike helmets often and goggles sometimes because of the tear gas. This past Monday, a group of these mothers locked arms in front of Portland's federal courthouse, forming a human barricade between themselves and the men in riot gear, chanting, "Feds stay clear, the moms are here," and also, "Leave our kids alone." At various other Black Lives Matter rallies, I have witnessed the call, "Hands up, don't shoot." Hands up, don't shoot, But these mothers in Portland have reinvented that chant. Google it after Shabbat. You can hear them, hundreds of women's voices singing, clear, soft, strong. "Hands up, please don't shoot me. Hands up, please don't shoot me." This is not the ranting of anarchists, but rather their chant was described as an earth-shattering lullaby. "Hands up, please don't shoot me." In this dark hour, when the sorrow of our Jewish calendar aligns in haunting ways with the brokenness of our present-day world, new and unexpected visions can arise. Hazon. Rioters can sing lullabies. Suburban moms can withstand tear gas. And who knows? Who knows what else? Tisha B'Av reminds us that we haven't written the last chapter. After all, it's only because of the temple's destruction that I, as a rabbi, have work, that Torah-based Judaism came to be. And with an end to temple sacrifice came the emergence of prayer itself. In this risky and tumultuous world, catastrophe and new vision sometimes go hand in hand. But the opportunity can't be missed. And now I'll close. In a press release distributed just after George Floyd's death, John Lewis encouraged protesters to resist the pull to uncontrolled anger, saying, quote, "Justice has indeed been denied for far too long, but rioting, looting, and burning is not the way." Lewis continued, "Organize, demonstrate, sit in, stand up, vote, be constructive, not destructive." History has proven time and again that nonviolent, peaceful protest is the way to achieve the justice and equality that we all deserve, end quote. On this Shabbat Hazon, as we prepare for what might be the saddest day of the entire Jewish year, may we have the courage to be honest about all that is broken, but not in order to dwell upon it, but rather so we can stretch toward what is yet to be, remembering that we are taught that it is on Tisha B'Av that the Messiah will be born. We rise now for Aleinu. We are on page 282.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא ונאמר וחיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יחיה אדוני אחד ושמו
As always, we remember loved ones before coming to our conclusion. If I mention the name of a loved one, feel free to stand in your home. And also, you'll have a chance to feel free to stand if the name of a loved one is not on the list and you're remembering someone. So laid to rest in the last 30 days is Ruth Cohen. And the Yortzeit, the anniversary of the passing of the following loved ones: Gail Bernstein Gold, Abraham Druxerman, Mark K. Feldman, Rudolph Horowitz, Barbara Jaffe, and Estelle Jaffe. If you want to put the name of a loved one in the chat, feel free to do that. Seeing their names, reading their names, gives us all strength and a sense of connection to the generations on whose shoulders we stand. So if it's your custom to stand, to rise for the mourner's Kaddish, we do that. Turn to page 294, Kaddish Yatom. Yigadal v'yikadash Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
V'yalma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayachon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael. B'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam v'olmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yit'aleh v'yitalal Shemei d'Kudesha Brechu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran b'yalma v'imru.
Amen.
Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imru.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'mramav. Hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imru.
Amen.
May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel. And let us say one last time, Amen. Okay.
So the wonderful Freeberg family is celebrating their 15th anniversary this week, but their phone ran out of juice. So if they can hear us, we are sending happy anniversary wishes, but we will have our amazing cantor do Kiddush. We are on page 5.
Raise your glasses, please. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabat kodsho v'yahava uv'ratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila lemikrae kodesh zecher litziat mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta v'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabat kodshecha v'yahava uv'ratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. L'chaim.
And now over to Aaron Romero, one of our amazing group of young people that is here every Shabbat. We miss you so much, Aaron, and your beautiful mom.
Oh, thank you.
And your grandma, so we get to see your face. If you have a challah, please feel free to raise it up with Aaron, who always does the motzi with gusto in the oneg room.
It's challah. So, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotze lehim haaretz.
Amen. We miss your flan. We miss your flan. And now over to our dear president, Gary Slobin, for some announcements.
Shabbat Shalom. I hope all of you are doing well. I hope all of you are healthy and staying clear of the coronavirus. I know we've been doing really well here in New York recently, but there have been some small outbreaks here in Great Neck, especially in parts of Kings Point. So just be vigilant, stay vigilant, don't let your guard down. Whatever we've been doing well here. Let's keep it up. I hope all your families are safe. And I'm personally very grateful to our law enforcement and police officers who protect us, who help keep us safe. I hope all of you will say a prayer to our police officers and law enforcement officers across this country who go to work every day to protect us, who put their lives on the line every day. Also for the hundreds of police officers who've been injured during these last few months, during the turmoil in our country. For those police officers who were injured on the Brooklyn Bridge a few weeks ago while trying to protect protesters and struck in the head by objects handed out to the protesters, senior officers in the New York City Police Department. So let's pray for them as well. And next time you see a police officer, say thank you. Thank you for protecting us. Thank you for putting your life on the line every day. And not spit at them or spit in their food, as you've read about in many articles. We've been working very hard at the temple. We're in the process of preparing for high holidays. Hopefully, we'll have some announcements for you shortly. We've been working on a video to send out to the congregation, which should go out hopefully by sometime next week, where we'll give you a few more updates as to what's been going on, but we have some exciting things going on. Virtual Oneg tonight, hosted by Linda Diamond. Stay on the Zoom after we close the service to join the Oneg. We're looking for someone who can host a virtual Oneg in August. It's very simple. Just please contact the main office if you're interested. Tomorrow, Torah study, 9:15. Shabbat morning service, Lay Led at 10:30. Havdalah tomorrow at 9 p.m. on Facebook Live. Every week we have Erev Shabbat family service from 6 to 6:30 via Zoom. Wednesday at 11:30, Coffee with Clergy continues via Zoom. This week it will still be hosted by Rabbi Tara, but next month it will be on pause until September. If you'd like to borrow a prayer book so you can follow along, please contact the main office. A few events we have going on Wednesday, July 29th at 7 p.m. Tisha B'Av Yoga Experience with Jewish Yoga School via Zoom. Monday, August 10th, Sisterhood's first annual Zoom pool party. That should be fun. More information is available for this and all other programs in your weekly emails. Thank you, Rabbi Tara. Thank you, Rabbi Meir, Cantor Adam. By the way, I was in the sanctuary the other day and I heard the cantor singing live. You know, Zoom does not do him justice. And I just can't wait until all of you have the opportunity and the experience to hear him sing live, because it is really beautiful. He has an amazing voice and really great energy on the bima. So something to really look forward to when things start getting back to normal.
Gary, you're making my head swell. It's not going to come on. It's going.
Also, thank you to Shai for the beautiful music, and of course, Greg and Stu Botwinick for all the tech work. It's hard work and sometimes thankless, but thank you. We really do appreciate it. Without you, we would not have these amazing experiences. Hala, thank you to the Margaloff family for bringing it, and to Ronit Pearl and the bakers who contributed to Cantor Davis's welcome meals. And a happy birthday to the Cantor Adam. His birthday is on Saturday, and we have a gift. I don't have it, but here you go. Here's a gift.
It's being delivered right now.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Thank you.
So happy birthday. And to all of you, Shabbat Shalom. Hug your families. Be grateful for what you have. Thank a cop. Shabbat Shalom.
We close now with Adon Olam on page
321. But we do a little throwback to a more simple time. Oh yeah? Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem kol Yatzir Nivra Li'ed Nasa
בחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא, ויחרה ככלות הכל, לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה והוא הווה, והוא יהיה בתפארה. אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נשא בחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא, ויחרי ככלות הכל, לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה והוא הווה, והוא יהיה בתפארה. אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נשא בחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא, ויחרי ככלות הכל, לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה והוא הווה, בתפארה, והוא היה והוא יהיה בתפארה. והוא אחד ואין שני, להמשילו להכבירה, בלי ראשית בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמשרה. והוא אלי וחי גואלי, וצור חבלי בעת צרה. והוא ניסי ומנוס לי, מנת כוסי ביום אקרא. אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נשא בחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא, ואחרי ככלות הכל, לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה והוא הווה, והוא יהיה בתפארה. אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נשא בחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא, ואחרי ככלות הכל, לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה והוא הווה, בתפארה. והוא היה והוא הווה, בתפארה. וידו כדרוכי בעת אישן ועיירה, ואם רוחי גוויתי, אדוני לי, ולא אירא. אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נשא בחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא, ואחרי ככלות הכל, לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה והוא הווה, והוא יהיה בתפארה. אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נשא בחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא, ואחרי ככלות הכל, לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה והוא הווה, בתפארה. 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 שבת שלום.